I'm going to tell you a Chassidic tale, and it goes all the way back to the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Chassidic movement, except this story takes place before the Chassidim were even called Chassidim. To share the background or the setting in 1 minute, it was a very dark and grim time for the Jewish people, like many that came before, and our people were collectively depressed, downtrodden, hurting, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, economically. And the Baal Shem Tov started a renewal where serving God and understanding that every single Jew has a place in this world and a purpose, and to do it with joy and positivity despite the circumstances was the 1 minute version of the mission. So the story takes place with a fellow who is very bothered by this whole situation. Here we are. Life, if you look around to any sane, normal human being, is pretty dismal and pretty bleak and pretty dark, and it's objectively so. And here you have these people who are dancing and they're singing and they're saying l'chaim, and what is up with them? So he came to the Baal Shem Tov to ask his question. And his question was simple. Are you out to lunch? What are you smoking? I'm sure that's not what he asked. I'm on a college campus, so sorry. But what's up with you people? Really, if you look around objectively, our lives are difficult and challenging and painful, and we have so little, and we're contending with so much. What's wrong with you people? Are you not aware? Are you oblivious to the realities on the ground? That was his question. So the Baal Shem Tov turns to this fellow, and probably with a smile and with a twinkle in his eyes, and maybe he stroked his beard, he looked at him and he said, the way every Chassidic master responds to a question, he told him a story. This is the story he shared. He said, there was a young man who was extremely musically talented, gifted. He never went to Juilliard. He didn't learn from any great teacher or maestro. He just was blessed with this inner talent for music, and he would play from his heart, from his little instrument, which happened to be a violin, and people would be drawn to this music, and that's how he was able to sustain himself. He would set up his shop, which was him and his violin, and business was open. He would put out his little, cover, his violin case, and people would throw in a few, whatever the equivalent of shekels was back then in the shtetl, and he would play his heart out and also feed himself through this talent that God gave him. So the Baal Shem Tov tells this fellow with the burning question, he says, one day something interesting happened. Our little musician friend shows up at the corner of the marketplace like he does very often, and it's an average Tuesday. Nothing is happening, nothing's going on. People are at their shops, at their stalls, buying and trading and selling. It's a good day at the marketplace. And our friend, the violinist, is sitting on the side, and he starts to play a melody, a slow, soulful melody. And as he's playing, the tempo of his music and the energy of his music and the sound starts to pick up, and the beat starts to get a little more joyous, a little more happy. And what happens viscerally when you hear beautiful music, when you hear a melody that's uplifting? Most of us, even if it's not our first instinct, our body actually responds, and you start tapping your foot or swaying or moving. I've noticed my own kids, when I'm in a shopping cart in a grocery store, I don't hear anything on the loudspeaker until I see my kids moving, and I remember that there's something playing above because I'm tuned out. But most people are tuned in when something beautiful is right before them, and that's what happened. One person starts to tap, and another person, and as one links hand with another, the violinist is responding to this interest and this enthusiasm, and the music is getting more beautiful and more joyous and louder, and the tempo is really, another circle joins, another person joins. People are leaving their stalls one after the next, linking hands, linking arms, kicking up dust, and with a few minutes going by, the marketplace looked like a big celebration. A huge festivity was going on. People were dancing and arm in arm, linking, kicking up the dust, forgetting their worries for a moment, and enjoying this beautiful music. What happens on the corner of the marketplace? A fellow who unfortunately was deaf and could not hear comes out of his little hovel, and he looks around, and he can't believe what he's seeing. It's a Tuesday morning, there's no celebration, there's no holiday, there's nothing that's supposed to be happening today, and has the world gone mad? Are they all checked out? Are they oblivious to the world? Why are all the people, the sellers, the buyers, everybody's dancing? What's going on? He couldn't figure out for the life of him what image he was looking at to see an entire marketplace scene all dancing. So the Baal Shem Tov turned to the fellow who had this question, and he said, I'm asking you, what was this unfortunate fellow who couldn't hear, what was he missing from this scene that would have helped him answer the question, what's up with everyone? So this man looks at the Baal Shem Tov and he says, well, it's obvious. If he couldn't hear the music, he didn't know why everyone was dancing and responding to that music, because he couldn't hear it. So the Baal Shem Tov says, exactly. You're asking the question, why are the Chassidim, who are called their freilacher, the happy ones, what are they singing, what are they celebrating when we're obviously living in these difficult circumstances that any human being could objectively see? And the answer to that question is, they're listening to the music of their soul, the music inside each and every one of them that tells them, you're a divine music note in God's orchestra here on earth, and despite the real challenges that you're surrounded with, you're here to play your music, to shine your light, and to be a gift in this world and an ambassador of God's love, despite everything that you're seeing. But if you hear the music, it's a lot easier to react to it and dance. And if you understand that the music we're talking about plays in each and every one of our hearts and was implanted by our Creator, putting life in each of us, that life is a music note. And when we tune into it, the fears and the real challenges of the world, they don't fade away. They're there, but we can dance and we can show up through it. But now I want to share a modern Chassidic story that happened 3 months ago in May on our campus, Emory University, which we like to say stands for Established Methodist Only Recently Yiddish, because we have a lot of members of the tribe that go to our fabulous school. And this story that I'm going to share with you is a little bit underwhelming in the scope, but I think very on point. What happened was, my husband and I were at our home, our Chabad house, which, thank God, is a very vibrant one. And I forgot what it is we were busy taking care of, but a student burst through the door, and I'll give you a 1-second description of the student. His name's Rafi. He wouldn't make it on a wrestling team or a football team. He kind of looks Jewish. He likes to study a lot. You could find him in the library. Very sweet, adorable freshman. And he's one of the few students who wear a yarmulke on campus all the time. We have 3 students who wear yarmulkes all the time. We're hoping to see if we could up that number, but he's one of them. And he comes in all schwitzing and upset and agitated, and he's like, Rabbi, I have to tell you what happened. What happened? He said, just an hour ago, I was walking across campus going to my lab, and it was 11:45. I was heading to make sure to get to my lab on time, and as I'm walking across the center bridge of campus to go to the science building, he says, a fellow student comes over to me. I didn't even notice her at first. She had purple spiky hair, a lot of piercings, a lot of tattoos, a lot of slogans all over her shirt. But whatever, you know, everybody chooses to show up and look however they want. But she came right up to my shoulder and she started chirping in my ear horrible things. She started telling me genocide, baby lover, Nazi, KKK, like every accusation it's not even possible for one person to be. Colonizer, I'm like, I'm just trying to get to my lab. He said, I didn't say a word to her. I didn't even look at her. I was just literally walking, focused to get to the place I needed to get to. And I got through my lab, and now I came here because I'm so shook up. That was so upsetting and disturbing. And what do? So, I don't know. What do you do? So what did we tell Rafi? We're not sure what the right response is. Are we going to, find out who this person is, start filing a claim, open a, a docket, have a panel, have a response, have a discussion, start filing papers for the university. A lot of ideas, and many of them may be very good ideas. But what we did was something we thought was a little underwhelming in response. We sent a text message, and I put it up on my Instagram handle. Rafi was harassed. He looks Jewish, everybody knows it. He's wearing his kippah. On the bridge going to class at 12 o'clock today, Wednesday. We don't want Rafi to feel alone in this situation. Whoever would like tomorrow, exactly the same time, at exactly the same place on the bridge, we're all going to gather to escort Rafi to class. Literally a 5 to 10 minute from 11:45 to 12. We're going to sing whatever, Ani Mamin, and we're just going to be proudly Jewish with Rafi on his way to lab tomorrow. Nothing really to write home about. And between me and you, if I'm being honest, I really didn't think more than the core group of students would show up, the regulars. We sent the email out, and we figured a dozen students would show up, and at least Rafi would feel like he has a sense of community and people who care about him. And what happened blew me away. At 11:45, we showed up on the bridge at the center of campus, and there were hundreds of students, Jewish students, non-Jewish students, professors, staff, community members. We had no idea how they even found out about this little gathering, because that's what it was, just a little where we're doing something, but really it's not much. What kind of response is that anyway? The kid gets harassed and we're coming to sing Oseh Shalom, like for real? That's going to help the situation? It was, I'm using the word awesome biblically, literally, to stand with hundreds of people, and I posted a few clips, the few that I managed to get on my Instagram, so people saw people in suits and ties, people from the medical facilities there, students of all nationalities, standing together, and we sang Am Yisrael Chai, Oseh Shalom, and everyone went on to class. And the reason I share this story with you is because since the beginning of time, since the beginning of history, Genesis, opening chapter, verse 1, it says that the Spirit of God hovered over the abyss. It describes a chaotic world, Bereshis bara. In the beginning, God created this world that at first was filled with chaos. And the Torah tells us that the Ruach Elokim mirachefet al pnei hamayim, that the Spirit of God hovered over this chaos. What does that mean? It sounds pretty wild. It sounds like the beginning of a crazy situation. And the commentaries tell us this spirit that hovered over the abyss, Zeh Ruchai Shel Melech HaMashiach. This is the spirit of Mashiach. This is the spirit of light, of hope, of joy, of love, of connection, of sisterhood and brotherhood that was embedded in the beginning of our story. So yes, dark times and challenges have followed us throughout that journey, but that's not our story. Our story is what's the beginning? The beginning is that the light of God that's embedded in each and every one of us, that soul, that music, that glory of our Creator, each and every one of us are carrying those notes with us. And so when we listen to that song inside, and when we choose to operate from that place, I know who I am, I know I am here, I know what I'm sent to do, and I could do it not with oi and oi gewalt and did you see and did you hear and it's so terrible, although that all may be true, but I'm going to tune in deeper than that. I'm going to go below the surface to where the truth lies, and those music notes of our neshama are constantly playing the glorious music of bringing light into our world. And each and every one of us is an ambassador of Hashem's light to bring music and joy in our world. And it sounds like semantics, it sounds like some in the sky concept, but when we show up and we're there for each other, and we do it with joy and with song because that's the essence of who we are, it can't help but have a ripple effect from our communities, our homes, our schools, our places of worship to where it's supposed to be, which is to the entire world, that the whole world is meant to be recipients of this light and recipients of love and connection in our world, and that's what we've been working for since the beginning, and that's where this song is leading us. So l'chaim, that we should be able to celebrate those notes being played in Yerushalayim with everybody together, and peace and love and healing for everybody, all of us and the entire world.